Well, I'm going down to Memphis to be on the Rick Montana show. Well, I'm going down to Memphis to be on the Rick Montana show. Gonna tune my old guitar, write a song, and away I go. I'm gonna tune my old guitar, write my own song. If it sounds pretty good to you, then you should sing along. Well, I'm going down to Memphis to be on the Rick Montana show. Gonna tune my old guitar, sing a song, and out the door. A lot of people told me that the first episode of the Rick Montana Show had some film clips from some of the B movies that I've been in, and they really enjoyed them. So we're going to see if you'll enjoy a clip from Search for the Beast. It was filmed in 1998. It was our attempt to make a 70s drive-in movie. That was the whole plan, and I think we succeeded.
Me and Traveler started out early the next morning looking for anything that would make this trip worthwhile. I knew we were miles from anyone, yet I felt I was being followed. Sometimes I even thought I heard something off in the brush, but that could have been anything. Just yesterday I rode past a small herd of elk. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Something had Traveler spooked, so I got off to walk for a while. Pete was trying to tell me something. He ran ahead and started digging in the bushes. I followed him, and I discovered something in the brush which I had never seen before. It was the remains of a small, man-like creature. I had what I was looking for, and I immediately headed for home.
You know, a lot of people don't realize just how fortunate that I've been in the movie business. I've been able to hang out with some of the greatest exploitation filmmakers that the world has ever known. Russ Meyer, Radley Metzger, David F. Friedman, Herschel Gordon Lewis, even Fred Olen Ray. All these guys make great, low-budget movies. They fill a niche in the marketplace. A lot of people have been entertained by these movies over the years. And I got to hang out with all of them, and I learned from each and every one. With that in mind, I actually made a documentary about David F. Friedman called Honest Dave Still with the Show. And here's a couple of short cuts from that, because I want you to hear some of the stories that Dave has to tell, because they're very interesting to anybody that's interested in B-movies and the exploitation film industry. Stay tuned.
I was a kind of a street press agent. When I worked for Paramount, I'd always pull a stud out on the street. For example, I was in Indianapolis ahead of this Martin and Lewis picture. So there was a lot of traffic in front of the old Circle Theater there. So I said, well, I'll just get up in front of the theater and go into a carnival spiel and see if I can turn the tip. And you just start talking, and automatically a crowd will gather. And then it's just a matter of fact of standing back and seeing how many buy a ticket and how many go in. Of all the pictures Herschel Lewis and I made together, that was about nine pictures that Herschel and I did together. This was by far his favorite and my favorite. And the funny thing is, of all those 9 pictures, this one wasn't too bad. It's a story of a little southern town that comes to life every 100 years and gets revenge when the northern troops had come down and massacred the town, and it worked. And it's become something of a cult classic. As a matter of fact, there's a company in Hollywood right now that are planning to remake. They're going to call it 2001 Maniacs. If they don't get started pretty soon, they'll have to call it 2002 Maniacs. But we have negotiated to sell them the remake rights to it, and it should work. But it was a pretty good little story. Funny thing, Rick, as I mentioned earlier, we had a deal to remake 2000 Maniacs. That deal is still pending. But in the meanwhile, young fellow down in Louisiana got the hots to make Blood Feast, remake Blood Feast. Well, of course, the main thing was that he had to acquire the rights from the consortium that owned the rights to it, which he did. And then he hired Herschel and me to come in as a director and producer. I wasn't that really interested in remaking the film. Why tamper with a legend? But Herschel, of course, was hot to trot, and just the joy of working with him again after 37 years, they talked me into it. So we all went down to Louisiana, where the alligators and the mosquitoes and the snakes abound, and we remade this picture. The young fellow that was making the thing, he had hired all this crew of young filmmakers with whom he had worked before. And I think these kids had the idea that they would teach Herschel and me, we old-timers, how to make a movie in the modern idiom. They wanted to have tracking shots, and as you can see here, they laid more track than the Union Pacific. I think these kids thought they were making Citizen Kane 2, but Herschel and I were trying to make Blood Feast 2. At any rate, somehow or other the thing got finished, and as I said, it was Herschel and I were kind of doing our own thing, and the rest of them were going around playing and making movies. They wanted an overhead shot, and somehow or other they'd only gotten one camera, this big Panavision camera. And I go over to the set one day, and they're building this big bridge. And I said, gee, that's very nice carpentry work there, boys. What are you going to do with it? Well, we're going to mount it on 4th century stands and put the camera up there to give you an overhead shot. I said, why? Well, give you a little production value. Now, these are these 25-year-old kids talking to me, and Herschel's kind of standing over at the side. He's kind of snickering. And I said, well, I really don't think going to all this trouble that it's worth it. I said, the shot's going to last on the screen maybe about 5 seconds. And one of these kids says, well, how would you do it if you wanted to do it? And I said, did you ever hear of a ladder and a handheld camera? But nobody had even brought a handheld camera to make a horror picture, a slasher film. So it was, as I said, an experiment in movie making by students of Filmmaking 101 with the two old original gurus of the slasher film business. I think he was making it on his American Express card, as a matter of fact. I will leave it up to the viewer to see what he thinks of it.
The Post Office Barbecue is located just outside of Munford on Highway 51. The down-home atmosphere matches the great food and friendly service. You can order anything from breakfast to sandwiches to a sit-down dinner. They serve barbecue, ham and cheese sandwiches, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, and more, plus full dinners like rib plates, grilled chicken, chicken tenders, and of course barbecue plates. They open at 6 a.m. every day for breakfast and serve great food all day long. Come on down and see